Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu-alaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair agale, ni hao, churashumme, washmale. Ohaya gozaimasu, guten Morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba. Buna, mucho gracias, swabi, abballi kare, hosh galdin, anayo sayo. And thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into PTV World. You are certainly watching World this morning, alongside my very orange colleague who happens to be Miss Hajar Sati. And I myself, who happens to be very cocky today, my name is Shahzad Hassan Khan. We hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But first things first, hello Hajra, how are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for introducing me. So Shahzad, I was going through my research and I came across, very fancy name for the vacations. So there are a lot of, workcation is a name, there is staycation as a name, and, the globe is moving towards a very wholesome sort of a package, which I really enjoy, where they're offering yoga classes, where they're offering, dance classes.
Wow.
So, your vacations should be a full package and you should enjoy it very more, especially in the coastal areas, right?
I think that the only term I'm looking forward to these days, unfortunately, is termination. I hope that there are no terminations coming along the way too as well. But thank you very much for saying that, because comprehensively, whenever we as a family have thought about going outside the station, traveling with babies, traveling with elders, it's always a choice where we can go relax, and we certainly do not have to go through the inconveniences of traveling outside the city too as well. And when we talk about traveling outside the city or outside the country, what inconveniences can you think about really?
Okay, so for example, if you're traveling, outside of the city, one of the inconvenience is the language barrier, especially if you're not in some, in some non-English speaking country right now.
Something like that, yeah.
Right. No, outside of Pakistan.
Okay, outside of Pakistan, yes.
Okay. I would be surprised, hear this thing.
I thought it was just about outside the city, and I was like,
yes. Okay, so you were very, well versed with, my language. I really admire and appreciate that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think, and second is, the understanding their tram system, because they're so complicated, but this line is going there, and the maps are even more complicated when it comes to that. And, especially if you go to the Turkey, so they have very different system of, having a card and then filling that card and then using that card for the tram. So, it's a whole, different sort of a logic at a next level to understand that.
So it does get a little difficult, and it actually kind of pushes your panic button too as well. And it's because that, imagine, so when I went to the US for the very first time, I really didn't have a credit card to myself. So I went to the airport and they were like, hey sir, you know what, since you have extra baggage, so you really have to check it in, but you have to check it in with your credit card. And I was like, but I don't have one. So he was like, sir, go over there, buy that card for $5, put as much money you want to put in it, and it will behave as your credit card. So when we talk about the inconveniences, there are people, in different parts of the world who've actually thought about it, they brought it together, and they made sure that it's going to be a very convenient experience for people who are outside the country too as well, or who wants to feel at home. So it's great. But now, when we talk about hospitality in general, Hajra, I believe that there's a dearth of all of those institutes who can provide us with executive education that to just specifically or precisely about hospitality.
Yeah, I think I would like to differ, because I do feel in Pakistan it is also becoming an academic field. So my university, NAS, they say introduce this, academic course of hospitality and management. So it's, really at the bottom of the merit list, and my sister got there and my father is like, bahut nalaik ho tum.
I was just about to say that for somebody to actually opt for hospitality courses, that too from NAS, they might be thinking something else.
Yes.
But no harm to the industry itself, and it's because of the fact that, ladies and gentlemen, this is the most growing industry in the world as of now, post-COVID specifically. A lot of people have plans to travel, go see the world too as well, and that's where you learn quite a lot. But we have experts over here in the house today with us. We're going to speak about it as an industry. We're going to tell us about how we can actually get all sorts of education, how we can provide smarter solutions, and how sanity can prevail when we talk about hospitality industry. And I want to talk about all of those questions as well, where we have encountered problems with 5 stars over here inside the country too as well. Kidhar ja rahe hain sir? अच्छा सर क्यों जा रहे हैं आपने चेक इन किया है all of these questions. You don't want to hear these questions when you're paying 35,000 rupees for a night. Why would you listen to all of these questions, right? so where are we right and where are they right? I think that's something where I want to draw the line to as well.
That's true.
So without any further ado, why don't you do the honors? Yes.
So we have a very esteemed guest who happens to be Dr. Mohyuddin Saab. He's a corporate director HR and OD at the Sina Hotels. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and welcome to our show.
Wa alaikum salam, Hajra, Shehzad.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. A lot of questions we have for you today.
Right. So I would like to introduce also Mr. Heinz Verle. He's a hospitality expert. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to our show.
Assalamu alaikum, and as we say in Switzerland, guten Morgen miteinander. It's a great pleasure to be here and an honor to have.
Wow, that's
Chance
wonderful.
talking to you.
And we will certainly get time to learn what you just said, after that as well. But let's get started with the conversation. So obviously, Dr. Saab over here will be talking about the locals' perspective, the domestic perspective of hospitality industry, and then obviously with Mr. Heinz, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking about the international perspective and how things are going on in the international market, and that too, what direction do they take when we talk about hospitality. So first things first, Mr. Heinz, I'll get started with you. Obviously, we have raised that red flag that we might not have such very credible institutes or a larger number of such institutes who can impart such executive education in terms of hospitality when we talk about it. How important do you think within the hospitality industry is executive education?
It's incredibly important because hospitality and tourism has become, as you said before, much more professional. And it needs education in financing, in management, in operations, and that has to be provided. That's no question.
That's true.
But over here, so imagine most of the times whenever we get a job ad in our newspaper, they say that we do need people who have 10 years of experience, 15 years of experience. So nobody's actually asking for fresh graduates. So how do you think for all of those people who've gotten that bit of education but do not have experience will land a job within the hospitality sector?
In my opinion, that should change because fresh minds and fresh ideas are bringing new ideas into the company. So what we always try to push is a mix of educated, as old-grown people like I am, and fresh young minds, and mix them together in a team.
Wow, wonderful. Same question, I think, for Dr. Saab over here too as well, because whenever we go to your hotel, sir, with due respect, I mean, I do see youngsters, but not a lot of youngsters over there. So how are you making sure that you incorporate all of those amazing people who want to be a part of your industry?
See, people, first of all, Hajra, thank you for giving me that morning downer that, hospitality is the lowest of the list for the university.
No, in NAS it's like that.
But honestly, if you look at the industry, I think it's one of the attractive industries, especially for young professionals who could come. Even there are a lot of avenues after hospitality. You may go into banking, you can go into other parts of service, even media. So there are a lot of pathways, even from the industry you can get out. But within the industry, Shehzad, just to answer your question, there are a lot of entry points. You can join as apprentice, as low as metric. You just go, learn up the ropes, and then you can gradually progress. Executive program is aimed at the people who are early in the industry, but they want to brush up their academics, kind of blending practice with knowledge.
Right.
Wow.
So that's lovely, and I would really like to, ask the question here is that what are the, recent trends when it comes to the hospitality sector? I would like to throw this question to both of you, and I would like to ask this question in the context of Pakistan because, as I was mentioning, there are concepts springing up like staycation, like workation, where they're offering wholesome packages, where, like you talked to me before, they're offering yoga classes and, a fun sort of dance classes. But I think things are also, changing in Pakistan when it comes to tourism and hospitality. So what are the new trends, sir?
The new trend is coming from the young population that we have. MashaAllah, we have amazing, energetic young people like you and Shehzad.
Thank you so much.
Who would want to work from their laptop. So all they need is just an internet connection and their laptop, and they would go to a resort, and from there they can work. So this concept is called staycation. That you are staying somewhere and it's a work for you, and at the same time, it's kind of a health and wellness program. And digital nomads are coming more and more. People are working on the technology, and they just need internet connection and a laptop or an iPad, and then they're good to go. So irrespective of the basic 9-to-5 jobs. So that's the market that the hotels are targeting now. That you come, you stay with us, we'll give you a health and wellness program, and while you can work.
And they can do so too as well, you know, before you start to answer about that. And it's because, you know, for all those people who are making content on GTube or are usually on their laptops, you know, they usually earn in dollars too as well. So for them to go and stay with them, I think that's a larger chunk of the market these days.
Also, Shahzad, especially in the COVID, I saw a lot of, for example, I saw a teacher because, you know, schools were closed and obviously it was a e-learning and distant learning, right? And I saw a teacher in the plain areas of a tourist destination, and she was there also enjoying the vacations and also teaching her students.
True.
So, you know, I found that concept very intriguing, you know, where she combined her work and also her vacation. So your thoughts on it, sir, the trends in the tourism hospitality sector?
Yeah, it's definitely a trend. I mean, that's what we have seen. COVID-19 changed completely the scenery. So what we have seen in 2021, and a lot of experts were thinking, okay, that's just temporary and will go away. And we are back like 2018, 19. That's not the case.
That's true.
People found out that, as you said, there are other models of doing business, of doing education, of studying, being in another environment, and also being together somehow with other people. And that's why some cool concepts like Mama Joe, B&B, some fantastic new hotel concepts came up.
So why don't you shed light on these concepts as well?
Yeah.
You know, for the learning of our viewers.
Actually, it's back to the basics.
Okay.
It's a very basic room, nothing special, but it's a very nice and entertaining public area.
True.
Where you feel good, where you entertain, where you work, where you chat, where you are together. And Mama Shelter, for example, has that very good experience. It's like being in a big family, like home, sitting on a big table.
Yeah.
True.
So, and in addition to that, you know, just a yes or a no from both of you. You know, so during COVID, I believe that it was the hospitality sector who might have earned quite a lot, and it's because that, you know, for all of those people who were traveling from other parts of the country, there was a 14-day quarantine. You had to do it, and you had to do it in a hotel. So there were particular hotels which were on the list too as well. But while it was COVID, the challenge was that the hospitality did not serve at the very standard they used to before COVID as well. So is it a yes or a no for you? Whoever wants to go first.
See,
You can thank me for the
COVID was,
question.
thank you, Shida. This is toughest of all. See, COVID, we didn't have any playbook to play
That's true.
while during the COVID. While you would understand that the health and safety guidelines were changing bit by
Every day.
bit. Your quarantine rules were changing and hotels were adapting to it. So definitely, there were a lot of hits and misses. A lot of hotels, they opted to become quarantine centers.
Yes.
Few didn't.
Yeah.
That was a conscious decision again. But definitely, yeah, hotels were also learning by doing.
All right, wonderful. So, you know, when we talk about the problems within the hospitality sector, let's start to kind of raise our instinct according to that too as well. So what are the problems internationally when we talk about hospitality, and then we'll come down to Pakistan?
Actually, we see two major fields. One is ESG, environmental, social governance. I mean, we just have seen, I'm very sorry for the people in Pakistan, the flooding. But in other parts of the world, we have no rain for 6-8 months, so it hurts tourism and hospitality badly. That's no question. In the winter in the Alps, we don't have snow anymore, so you don't go skiing. So there we have to find new concepts, that's no question. And the other thing is people. It's a shortage of very well trained and educated people in the market.
All right, and do we encounter the same problem over here?
Yes, yes. See, our environmental fragility is very high. Instead of 3 monsoon spells, we had 9 monsoon spells here, while our mountains were quite warm. Places like Hunza, where the average temperatures used to be 27 to 30 degrees centigrade, they went as much as like 40. So the glacial melt and so much of water coming all the way downstream, creating a havoc with this area, and also a lot of disasters up there in the mountains. Yes, environment, social governance is very important.
Right, sir. So I really like to ask you this question because, for example, especially you are from the German culture, and you know there is this thing coming up within the tourism studies of the over tourism. So there are a lot of people who are going there. There's a lot of rush there. The prices goes up, and also the local communities somehow feel that they are being invaded by the outsiders, the tourists, right? They may not like that sort of intrusion, and I also feel that people are looking from the Europe towards the other destinations, to explore the world, because I do feel because of the social media we have so much influx of information. Do you feel that Pakistan is one of the alternative, I would say, destination which is fastly capturing the imaginations of tourists around the world?
Yeah, we are a go-to place for adventure tourism.
Right.
We have mountains.
Right.
We offer all three mountain ranges: Himalayas,
Right.
Karakoram, Hindu Kush. A lot of natural attraction
Right.
is there, but yes, that carrying capacity challenge is always there in the domestic market.
Right.
And once that there is a flux of domestic market, definitely, then there are sometimes unfair practices of price gouging,
That's true.
where I think the regulators should also come in, and also there should be some kind of a community-based governance.
True.
Right. Right.
And I believe that's important too as well. But while you were talking about it, I think a lot of people might have encountered this issue, because I actually saw a few pictures on Instagram and I wanted to go to the same place. But I went over there, it wasn't really the same place. Do you get me?
Right.
So most of the time, the pictures you're seeing on your Instagram or on your social media feed, saying that, hey, you know what, it's heaven, just go there, relax and whatnot.
Right.
Once you go over there, you realize that all of those people have created those images for you to fall prey to that place and go over there and then enjoy whatever service they have too as well.
Right.
Now, sir, my question over here is, what do you think are the initiatives taken so that the hospitality sector can foster within Pakistan? There's a larger gap as we see towards the north. We really need to come up with smarter solutions. What can be smarter solutions? What can be cheaper solutions? Not everybody can pay or afford 5-star, but everybody has the will to travel all over the world. So what are the best solutions? And we want it from the hospitality experts.
That's
Yeah,
all.
some cheat codes.
We all want to have cheaper, of course.
Yeah.
But it's the concepts I said to you before. What we see two trends. One
Yeah.
trend is to keep it simple, basic, 16 square meter rooms, 14 square meter rooms for, let's say, $30, $50, $80.
Yeah.
And the other side, we see the luxury segment, which
Can I stop you over here? And it's because that imagine that for somebody who's actually spending or willing to spend $30, they certainly want the same brand name, because they still want to put a check-in on Facebook or Instagram. So how can we give them the same brand value when we talk about a cheaper rate?
absolutely. There are some models and some companies already in the digitalization very, very far.
True.
So you do the booking with your mobile, you do the checking with your mobile, you pay the room with your mobile, you get all the tourism programs on it. You operate a property, a 100-room property with 10 people.
Yeah.
Right.
And of course, then you're able to offer a very cheap room because you have low staff costs.
Yeah.
But it's a high digitalization, and absolutely you need electricity for 24 hours for sure. Otherwise, you will have a problem.
True.
Right.
But if that is secured, then you're absolutely able to provide that service for that amount
That's
of money.
wonderful. And now moving on to $150 or $200, so we were here, now let's climb here.
That's
Please, Dr. Saab.
Yeah, so say there are different markets. One is a budget travel market, or there is a youth hostels market where kids and youth, they sign up to the various hostels globally. They do backpacking and do an immersive experience. The other is the luxury leisure market, which is kind of different in a sense, like as we move up a star.
Yeah.
For like 1 star would actually mean that basic services at the budget, and then you add up the stars.
Yeah.
Then you add up more promise, more luxury, and better service delivery.
I'm sorry that I'm bringing this question up again, but you're certainly getting what I'm trying to say over here. People want to pay less, but want to enjoy 5 stars, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think you as a hospitality expert can guide us that there are smarter ways of doing it? For example, he said that, if you're a group of people, you book the same room, you can do it and you can enjoy it too as well, and you divide the money onto other heads. But over here in Pakistan, we always have this choice of getting maximum out of paying minimum. How can we do that? All of those cards and systems which are out there these days as well. If you get a membership, you get 2 nights free stays. So there are these deals, but majority of the people are not aware of these deals as well. And then how do you market these deals for the betterment of the hospitality sector, for your business, and for our betterment, so that we can enjoy the best?
See, there are different markets again. A hotel is basically a mattress and a pillow.
Yeah.
That's all about it.
Really?
Yeah. If you add up a bed sheet and a quilt or a duvet, you add up, and then you
And
start
those memory
adding up.
pillows.
And those different kind of pillows, those customer preferences.
Yes.
So the way you customize for a customer actually derives the value.
Okay.
And also comfort for the customer.
True.
Okay, okay, that's lovely. So, tourism, promotes a lot of, cultural heritage of the country. For example, Serena is there in the northern areas, right? And it's located in one of the very pristine location. It's lovely, and a lot of people go out there, right? And it's also highlighting our different, cultural variations of Pakistan and diversity when it comes to that. So I really wanted to talk to you about, what are the initiatives of the corporate social responsibility that your hotel is taking out?
First, Hajra, see, we are already in the mountain region, and
Right.
we are further investing in the area,
Right.
is to foster the tourism.
Right,
Number one, employment of local people.
that's true.
Number two, getting supplies from the local community.
Lovely.
3, skills from the local community. And then, tourism should be a win-win with the local community. It's not like coming out from out
Right.
and taking it back.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, and I would, lastly like to ask you this question. So there is a lot of flooding in the country, right? And it's not just that is affecting South Asian region, it's affecting globally. So in Europe we have the droughts and, such sort of, risk. So I would really like to ask you both of this question that, how can the tourism adapt to such kind of, climate catastrophes, or what is the risk adaptation strategy when it comes to the floodings and disasters like
For both of you, please. Mr.
See, for Pakistan, if you look at the unfortunate hazards that happened in Swat,
That's true.
all the way across the Swat River on either sides, is absence of master planning.
That's true.
Ideally, hotels shouldn't have been there.
That's true.
If you look at a riverbed which is this
That's true.
wide,
That's true.
while the river stream may be this small,
Right.
but historically there might be a big flux. That's why you have a huge riverbed. So, master planning at a district level, master planning at a provincial level, so that these are the safe areas and these are not the safe areas. I think master planning would really help.
Right, and sir, moving on to you, for example, I was looking at the DW and they mentioned that how, Rhine has shrunk because it's a worse drought over there, and it's also affecting the tourism there because there were a lot of, yachts that used to travel there, but now since the water is shrunk, so it's affecting the tourism industry. So what should be the risk assessment of, the tourism industry?
It's exactly what
Right.
my colleague said relating to Pakistan. We as the university, we are involved in 2 community programs
Right.
because it has to be on the governmental level. So first of all, they have to do investments into protection. For example, the Rhine River will be extended. So it's an investment,
Right.
multi-billion dollars, but it has to be done. Otherwise, we will have flooding as
Exactly.
well.
And in addition to that, whenever we talk about tourism, obviously everybody wants to have that river view too. So I
Yeah.
think people do at times get selfish that, okay, we might construct it over
Exactly.
here so that there's greater view. But now, just because we wanted a greater view, there's no more hotels, right? Because we were on the riverbed too. Very quickly, towards the end, why do you think that today's hospitality industry actually is very pivotal or important, or plays an important role in the economy of the country?
It has also social aspect. For me, young people should travel, need to travel, and need to learn other cultures, other languages, which opens up their minds, which helps the whole society.
Exactly. So
lovely,
that's wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Hines, for being with us. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab,
Thank
for
you.
being with us. Thank you very much for taking our time. Not just that, where Hajra actually asked the corporate social responsibility question, I would certainly want to reply to that too as well, because I've witnessed it, and PTB World has been a partner with Serena Hotels for a longer period of time now. We have seen how they've promoted the younger talent,
That's
how they
true.
were, music festivals, how they were
Right.
music competitions. They have
Right.
made sure that they're going to give opportunity to youngsters as well. So Serena Hotels, keep up the good work, and with that, where Hajra actually pinpointed how the hospitality sector can play a role while we have a natural catastrophe over here within the country, I think they've aptly answered it as well, that everybody needs to contribute and come together. So a detailed version of how the floods have impacted our country, how the rescue operation has been completed in Sindh, in Punjab and in Balochistan, and nobody's anymore stranded, alhamdulillah, thanks to Pakistan Army, thanks to Pakistan government as well. But with that, we're actually heading out towards a short break. When you guys will come back, we will be in conversation with all of those people who have great hearts, who are making sure that from a month, they're already onto those locations where people could not reach. They're making sure that people of those areas are eating, having food, and have a fine place to sleep, and that they have enough medication that, God forbid, if there's a breakout of any disease, it can be curtailed and looked into it. We're going for a short break. Don't go anywhere. When you come back, we will have the top stories as well, and we will look into it further. Good morning.
Welcome back. And earlier on we were talking about the tourism, and we also talked about the flooding. And Shahzad, very aptly mentioned that how floods have wreaked havoc across Pakistan, across our country. And Mrs. Sherry Rahman, our climate change minister, very aptly in one of the climate change conference in Germany mentioned about it. How flooding are affecting it. And she also mentioned, because I really wanted to reiterate her point here, is that we need a clear restructuring of global environment agenda. This is very important, which should have equitable resources. And such amount of water has come up. Our cities are not that much climate resilient when it comes to that. They do not have the capacity to absorb this much amount of water. And Shahzad, I was listening to something and I really heard it. So a person said that if you have a piece of roti on your plate, and you are not worried about how the next meal would come, and if you have a shelter on your head, so I think so this is a very important thing, and you should be grateful upon that, and you should contribute towards a lot of people who are working for these flood rehabilitation, who are contributing. And contribution does not always mean the monetary contribution. There can be a lot of non-voluntary contributions, like volunteering there, contributing.
Giving your clothes,
exactly.
Kumbal, blankets, quails, so whatever you can share. And in addition to that, Haja, I would like to add over here what Ms. Cherry Rahman said. Because I think it's about time that all the international stakeholders needs to come together, because we have not been contributing as a country. If we talk about our contributions towards climate change, it might be 0.01%. And imagine that all of these adverse effects have been impacting Pakistan because of our geographical location. So we really need to look into it, whether how we can get the stakeholders onto this point, so that they kind of control the contribution of their fossil fuel burnings too as well.
Right, and I would really like to reiterate across here her point, which she mentioned in that climate change conference. And she said that in such sort of conferences, in such course of discourses, there is no talk about the recompensation for such kind of losses, which is not of our making, in the first place. And yet, we are suffering so much when it comes to, I think 5% of our GDP is affected because of such kind of climate losses, and there's one estimate which is saying that, $10 billion were lost because of these flooding.
And then further $10 billion might even be required to reconstruct the infrastructure. And in addition to that, I think what we really need to remind people is that obviously there is Prime Minister Flood Relief Fund. You can contribute to it, which the account number is G12164. Please make sure that you open up your heart for the people of Pakistan, feel for them. And then there's what you can do is that you can text on 9999 and 10 rupees will be donated, which will be used for the well-being of the people who've been affected by floods. Then there are helplines, 1135. It's a generic helpline. You call them, which has been set up by Pakistan Army. And there's another helpline which goes with 1125, which is KPK specific as well. So for all of those people who are out there, keep these helplines closer to you, that God forbid if you are in trouble, so that somebody can come and rescue you. But the best part so far is, alhamdulillah, that the people who we will be in conversation with have been on the ground a month prior to this catastrophe as well. They're making sure that people will get the medicines and the tents, and that they will sleep well, and that there's not going to be a breakout of any disease. They are the ones who actually told us today, which I believe is a good news, that nobody now, alhamdulillah, in Pakistan is stranded amongst the areas where there is flooding. So Pakistan Army, alhamdulillah, successfully has ended that operation where they've gathered all the people under a safer place, and I believe that's the way forward. But what do you think these NGOs have been doing so far is something which we are going to focus on. We will once again pledge and urge you all to make sure that you donate generously as well. So without any further ado.
And I would also like to, spread across some news, which is about, how the leadership of our country is actually, going out in the fields and, contributing towards that, and making sure that, people do not feel left out because of these flooding, because it's, I think, we are the ground zero for this global catastrophe, which is the climate change.
And we have another good news too as well, where we really need to speak about International Monetary Fund. And unfortunately, I'm very sad. I will come back to this bit, but the International Monetary Fund Board approved the 7th and 8th reviews of Pakistan's bailout program, which will release 1.17 billion in funds. the IMF had agreed to extend the program by a year and augment the funds by $1 billion. The funds will be a lifeline to the South Asian country currently suffering from devastating floods, whose foreign exchange reserves have fallen to levels that cover only a month of exports and whose economy has ranked with a massive current account deficit and high inflation. So congratulations to the entire team of Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif Saab as well, and congratulations to our Minister Saab, Mr. Miftah Ismail, who've actually taken those hard decisions to save Pakistan from a default. But I'm very sorry, I felt really bad about what Shaukat Tareen Saab has said, you know, in all of those voice calls which we have been televising to as well. This was anti-state, and people really need to kind of decide as of here and now that this is not what we call a leader. These are not the people who should actually be handling the affairs of the state.
Right, and also, you know, we need national cohesion, you know, which Shehzad was pointing out, and you know, one of the manifestation of it, which is that PML and Vice President Ms. Maryam Nawaz Sharif Sahiba, she visited Tonsa to see the flood-stricken people of this area. And Shehzad, I would once again like to say that, you know, when the top leadership of the country, you know, visit places like these, you know, they make their presence felt there, and, you know, so that people could feel that, you know, okay, they are not feeling left out, okay, state is looking out for them. So that means a lot, right? And I do feel that there are people, you know, who are actually working towards this cause. So without further ado.
And there's a fair comparison. So imagine, do you remember that, you know, there was this incident which took place in Balochistan, and people were sitting with the dead bodies, unfortunately, and the then Prime Minister didn't really go over there, and he was like, okay, you know, once you go, you bury them, and then we will think that we're going to come and see you guys what your problem is. So I think there's a fair difference, there's a thin line, and alhamdulillah, I think that the PML and governments has been doing great so far.
So, you know, without any further ado, we would really like to introduce our guests, because we want to talk about, you know, how we can help the flood affected victims. So first we have Mr. Ahmad Malik, who happens to be the social activist. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much, Hajra, for introducing me and speaking so high about us. As you are already stated that you know, the extent of damage is huge. It is at its length. The catastrophe is at its length.
Right.
So this is the time that we need to stand as a nation.
Right.
Exactly. And before we stand as a nation, you know, I really need to introduce my other guests too as well. And ladies and gentlemen, in such times of catastrophe, people really need to join hands. And I'm very happy that, first of all, Mr. Ahmad Malik happens to be my junior from school and university. He's doing great work, and I believe that, you know, I would want to put myself in his shoes one day, inshallah. But what they have done is that they have joined ventured with other people so that they can efficiently use the human resource they have at their disposal. So we're very lucky that we've been joined by the Vice President. But in the absence of the President, she happens to be the President of Smile Lions Club too as well. Hello, Assalamu alaikum, Ms. Safina. How are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum. I am good. I am fine. Thank you. और मैं ये कहना चाह रही हूँ कि स्पेशली थैंक्स टू यू कि और टू अहमद एज वेल कि उन्होंने मुझे इनवाइट किया इस शो पे where I can, you know, express my feeling about the people who are alone, but they are not alone. We are with them. Over here, we are thinking about them. We think of them. सोते हुए जागते हम उनका ही सोचते हैं. Alhamdulillah, we are trying in small capacity, but still we are doing something.
And we will certainly give you that opportunity as well to express your feelings of what you've done so far. So, Ahmed, you know, you've been there a month prior. You know, people of Pakistan have started to take it seriously now. Now the media houses are giving it the coverage it deserves. We should have a month prior to this as well. How were things a month back? How were things a week back? And now how are things now?
Alhamdulillah, first of all, that now the social media is very active, media news are very active. So people have now, you know, got the situation on the ground, what it is like. So we were there a month before, and we have been doing the medical camp installments there, and then this tents distribution. We have been doing the ration distribution in different areas of Balochistan, naming some of them Las Bela, Nasirabad, Jafrabad, Sobatpur, and Kila Saifullah. So these are the areas which we have now been doing the ration drives in repetition now. And in Sindh, there are some areas, Umarkot, Larkana, Sangar, Achrothar, Jamshoro. So these are the areas which have been severely hit by the floods. And I mean, the damage is huge. It's at its length. So these people right now, as Shehzad, you have stated that we need to all come together. All the international community, stakeholders, they need to come together, because you see the damage is so much huge that the government and the army itself cannot cope up with it. So we as a citizen of Pakistan, the community, the youth communities, Lions Club, Miss Safina, we are all collaborating with each other. We all have to play our part in this. So as of now, we are now distributing this kambal, this razaiyan, this clothes, shoes and dry milk powder for the babies and everything. So I guess this is the time that we all have to pour our part in.
Wonderful. Everybody needs to do so. But imagine that, when you were there prior, almost 30 days prior to now what we are talking about, what was the first response of the people when they saw you coming to their rescue, when they saw you coming with food supplies, when they saw you coming with medical reps too as well, who are going to look after them? What was the first thing they said to you that, hey, shukar hai laga bhai, aa bhai?
Shehzad, if I be very honest, it was horrible. Because I remember my team going out in the flood hit areas on the truck, and we had a mob attack as well. Because you see, these people, they have lost everything. Millions of lives have lost, millions of livelihood have been carried away with the strong water currents. So they have lost everything. So it was a completely horrible state at that very moment in the 1 month back, if I have to talk about. Now, alhamdulillah, because we are on the ground, and this I must also tell to the public and to the Pakistani people, the situation is quite much in control, because Pakistan Army, provincial government, NDMA, they have rescued the people who are stranded on the water. Now the operation is of relief and rehabilitation. But then you see these floods are 10 times more of a damage than what it came on 2010 and 11. So and if I'll be honest, that 2010 and 2011 floods still have its impact. Now you can imagine these floods, which are 10 times more stronger than those ones, how much impact will they have in years and years long? So now the rehabilitation process will be there, but the effort has to be continuous. And we need to build houses for these people. As of now, we are giving them a tents. It's a temporary living, because you see the compensation also does not come very quickly. It takes about 7-8 months, almost a year also. So we need to give them at least where they can live, and they can be protected by the sun and by the rains. So that's what we are focusing on right now. And alhamdulillah, up till now we have distributed somewhat 300 to 500 tents in different areas of Sindh and Balochistan. And inshallah, more efforts, more contribution, like Lion Club, Ms. Safina, we have other community members as well, and they are collaborating with us, and inshallah we will be delivering more aid to them.
That's really wonderful that how people are actually going out there and helping them. And Shahzad, we in the PTV have also fund relief camp over here, and I feel so wonderful that people are actually going and helping out people who are in distress, who are in actual need. And also, so community which is affected by these floods, they also display some sort of resilience, because they know how to tap in the aftermath of this such kind of disaster. So you were there on the ground, what sort of resilience you saw, and how are you engaging the community with them in there?
Okay, so our ground rule as of now is that aid is approaching to the areas which are a little far off on the highways, you see, on the Balochistan. If you talk about this Jafrabad, Nasirabad, so they are all connected on the highway. So a lot of aid is now coming in. But there are still some areas, some settlements, some places which are not known to any of the people, not even the government.
For example,
also.
Can you shed light on that?
Killa Saifullah is one of it. Okay, I mean, it is known to that place is known, but the inside places, the settlements, because there are people who were stranded there, but now they have been taken care of. Pakistan Army have played a very important part in it. So we have been approaching there. Our youth communities have been approaching there. Youth groups have been approaching there voluntarily, and our teams as well. And we have been delivering the aid to them and their households. So,
and I believe that's the most important aspect as well, that they get the very necessities to survive as well. But I want to move on to you, Acting President Small Lions Club over here as well. So Ms. Safina, this joint venture with Charity Doings, how do you think is going to have more impact or a greater impact, or do you think that it's going to give a lot of convenience to a lot of people in a shorter span of time? So how your club is contributing?
I think it does, because the way I see it from the WhatsApp groups, it's regardless if someone belongs to any party, if someone is from any sect, any caste, any culture. I have seen that in all WhatsApp groups, it's about cause. Spirit एक है, and the way the social media has played its role, I must appreciate at this time. क्योंकि हमने जो देखा है, तो हमें फिर वाकई में नींद नहीं आती कि हम कैसे AC में on और we have.
Can we say that in English too as well, because you know.
Okay, so like the way I see that, how can you sleep while you just think about them? People are stranded in water, and the way you have seen babies and the girls, small kids carrying their pets on their heads, you can't sleep simply. So I have seen that in all the WhatsApp groups, because we are not working for one particular person, one particular organization. Basically, it's about our country, the way you have said, it's about our state, our beloved country. So I have seen that we are in every part and in every capacity we are contributing. Be it 1,000, be it in millions, be it about clothing, be it about edible. So it's not about Ahmad and me. We are also working for other people, and we are not thinking if they belong to us, if they are part of our club, if they are part of our organization. It's beyond everything. When it comes to your people, then you don't remember who he is. So I have seen that basically this time I have seen people more mobilized. Previously, like, of course it was I remember 2005 earthquake. That was a massive one, that was a huge one. But this time the spirit that I have seen is is absolutely
and do you think social media has a role to play, when it comes to such
because
kind of
the videos I saw, I cried, I couldn't sleep, I told you. So उस वजह से it's not about that कि मैं उस पे trust करूँ, ये भी हमारे यहाँ it's a big issue that you can't trust people to give your charity to such and so organization. But this time we are not thinking about anything. The spirit is just to give, to protect our people.
Exactly, and
to own them.
Obviously, when we talk about such a natural calamity or a disaster, we really need to think about the protection of the people who are going to go outside and work for you people as well, right? So when we talk about mobility, that's the biggest challenge. When we know that there are 150 more bridges which have been broken, the infrastructure is not in place. So how do you mobilize all of your resources? Because that's the main challenge, right? To reach out to people.
Good question.
Okay.
So I would like to answer this, Shehzad, because since Lions community is connected with us, and we have been doing up till now, we have done 15 ration drives.
I thought Lions would answer this question.
No, definitely.
But I would let Cheetah answer it.
Thank you so much. So first of all, the team which we have, they are locals over there. So that's the best part which we have. And they have been working with us for the past 7-8 years now. And of course, we have been sending our own team from Islamabad to them, so that more the manpower, more appropriate, the ration drives get carried on.
Yeah, but so very sorry, I will have to stop you over here, and then I will give you fair chance to complete it. Now, imagine that you mentioned that you actually have local partners who will partner with you, and then we reach out to those people. Imagine if that local partner himself or herself is in distress. How do you think that they can do justice with all of that you're disposing in the name of all of those necessities people will require? So you really need to have the check and balance that those locals who are partners with you are not taking it all back to their homes and cousins and families first, and then somebody else is going to come.
Definitely, Shehzad, you see, margins of errors are always there, because we are at a complete desperate measures right now. It's a complete chaos everywhere. So yes, chances can be there, definitely. But then you see, these are the people who have been working with us for quite a time now. So this is the, what you can say, the guarantee which we have from them. So we are using these people for giving out the ration to the flood affected ones. And one more thing I would like to add here. Initially, when we were distributing and when we were doing this mission flood relief, everywhere it was all submerged with the water. Wherever the eye can see, water is everywhere. So people used to, they on the ground we got the reports that where will they cook? If we give them a ration, atta and oil and everything, they need something, it has to be some chula somewhere, a stove somewhere.
Or probably prepared food.
Exactly, prepared food. Then we immediately shifted to ready to eat food. You see, the thing is called kala chana. It's a very powerful thing, and a person can stay alive for 2 days if he hasn't eaten anything. So then the water, milk powder, all-purpose, bread, of course. So these were the things. We made a packet of somewhat 1,500 rupees per person, and then we distributed it in masses.
And to her is to human too as well, so you're very right on that. But very quickly, because we're short on time, how do you think people can donate to charity doings? And if you are receiving any donations for that matter, for the flood affected, please go ahead, talk to
people
in 46
so
different
our
countries.
NGO is called Charity Doings Foundation, and just my message out there will be this, that just do your part. Give out your donation to the NGO of your choice. It doesn't matter. It's just this thing that Pakistan needs you right now. Pakistan catastrophe is huge. It is in the past three decades, this disaster has never been witnessed before. The extent and the scale, it's huge, and we cannot be. It's beyond our imagination, to be honest.
Exactly.
So that's.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmad Malik. I'm proud of you, and I take pride in what you're doing, and we take pride in all of those people who are out there on the ground, making sure that they're going to help all of those helpless families and people. Thank you very much, Ms. Safina, for being with us. You know, you've definitely done a great job by joining hands with Charity Doings. And ladies and gentlemen, in days to come, inshallah, we will certainly have all of those proud Pakistanis who've been out there helping all of those people tirelessly as well. It's our responsibility, it's your responsibility, it's a collective responsibility and a shared responsibility. Make sure that you take that responsibility and fulfill it.
Right. That's a very lovely message. And you know, I think till of now we have lost more than 1,000 lives. And these numbers are very rapidly changing because we haven't seen such sort of calamity before, right? And you know, I think we need to contribute towards, you know, the flood rehabilitation, you know, be in any capacity, in any shape. And I always say that, you know, aid does not mean a monetary aid. It can be non-monetary aid, right? It can be, you know, you can volunteer.
It can be du'ai as well.
That's
yeah.
true.
So till the next time, just look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.
Good morning.
Make it good for everybody else.